Hi everyone, this is the Recreate podcast with Michael and Teresa where we talk about our favorite TV shows. Today, it's an explosive finale episode for Hunted Season 3. For anyone who hasn't watched the show, there are massive spoilers ahead. Extraction has just happened and we're about to review which team has clinched the final prize and got away from the Hunters. In today's episode, best friends Romanee and Chelsea play hide and seek, but will they get caught in the dark? High school sweethearts Indy and Deb seek sanctuary, but will they get saved? If you've missed the amazing episode, you can catch all the action on Template, Hunted AU Season 3, final episode breakdown coming up.
Wow, what a finale. I can't believe it's over.
Yeah, I'm actually really bummed it's finished actually
Yeah,
last night after the show finished.
Same. I'm getting withdrawals. I feel sad that there's no more Hunted to consume, but at the same time, I feel satisfied at what a good season it was. This is probably the best the show has ever been.
Yes, it's a great finale. We were absolutely rooted to our seats the whole entire
Well,
time.
I was running around the house. I couldn't believe some of the things that happened. They were just
Yeah.
absolute cliffhangers and exciting moments. It was so exciting.
Yeah,
I
and
didn't
some
think-
of the most
yeah.
spectacular, I think, scenes that we've ever seen on the show. And they have already been very good captures.
They've been good all season long, and they topped it somehow in the finale. I was saying at several points, this has to be freaking scripted. This can't be real. I couldn't believe some of the shots, some of the captures, some of the moments, the escapes. It was like some bits were like a horror film. It
Yeah.
was completely amazing. However it was put together, it was enthralling television. It really was.
really good. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, we can't wait to break it down bit by bit for you.
Yeah, and so let's start at the start.
Mm.
And we have Andy and Deb, 25 hours until extraction, and the clock is ticking. It's the final day. You know, the temperature's up, the pressure's up, the stress is up, and they decide for a strat on the last day, as we've seen in the past, what the teams have to do is call up for the extraction point. Now, the hunters don't know, we have learned, about the extraction point, so they have to move blindly to find out where this extraction point is. In the past, they've sort of been able to tell because of really big signifiers, because normally the extraction vehicle is a really big thing, like a helicopter in
Yeah.
the sky or a seaplane or something like, or a massive boat, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
which you can kind of like track, from a distance to see which direction it's going
Yeah.
and kind of pinpoint what's a major landmark that's in that area.
Yeah. So the past two extraction things have been a beach and a football stadium.
Mm.
So people were speculating, the teams were speculating, what's the extraction going to be? And so Andy and Deb, they are with Linda and Glenn, a couple, and they get Linda to take them to a remote highway where they jump out of their car and they call for extraction details, and they keep this information even from Linda herself, which is just very typical Andy.
Yeah. So they've got a little card. So it's not actually a call. They've got a little card
right, you're
that
right.
has a website on it, and
Yeah,
they
you're
have
right,
to
sorry.
access the website on a phone. But they're keeping it super quiet because they don't want Linda or Glenn to know the location. Because in case if the hunters come their way, they're going to they could get the location out of them, and rightly so.
That's good discipline. You know, being
Yeah.
paranoid is better than being careless, as I've always said to
Yeah.
to people. Like, it's only paranoia if you're wrong. If you're right, you're actually just being careful. And Andy being paranoid, that's the life you gotta live when you're on the run, and he's playing it to a T. They can't track you or they can't spill the secrets and snitch on you if they don't know.
No. So as we've learned, the extraction point is actually Gem Pier in Williamstown. That's the
Yeah,
next day, and they have to be there exactly at 2:15.
that's nuts.
Yeah. So probability that's gonna be a boat, I guess.
Yeah.
And you have, I guess, what, like a minute to get onto the boat?
Something like that, traditionally, yeah.
Yeah.
Or it could be a seaplane.
Mm.
We later learn, we don't know, I
I
guess.
don't know.
But that is contrasted very early on to Romanee and Chelsea's gameplay, who also, pretty shortly after, also make their phone call. But the way they do it is, how do they do it? They call up a friend's contact, Nathan, and use his phone to call up, to access the website.
Yeah, to access the website. Yeah. So they're staying at Paul, who is, I think, a relative of them. he drives them over to his neighbor's house, which is 3 streets away. So they're thinking, okay, there's a separation point there,
Yeah.
rather than use Paul's phone. And when they got there, Nathan submits his phone to Romanee and Chelsea. They access the data on his phone, and yeah, they got the extraction details, and off they go.
And off they go. But they may have left like a witness behind who isn't necessarily inclined to help them.
Yeah, well, so what happens is when this URL access is given, the hunters actually get details of the phone
Hmm.
details, so they can actually contact whoever that phone belongs to and ask them, okay, so you've been helping out fugitives. Do you know where they're going? Can you give us any clues?
Yeah, exactly. So they haven't left a point of separation between them and their next destination. So Nathan gives up. He's interviewed shortly after, and he's tempted with an offer about money, right? And because he doesn't know them, this is the benefit of using a friend and the flaw of using a friend versus the cost and benefits of using strangers, right? Strangers are good because maybe
You're
you're
anonymous.
anonymous, you can't be tracked. But the drawback is that they won't be faithful to you. They won't be loyal. They're not inclined to help you.
Yeah, I think what the hunters did really well when they arrived at Nathan's house was they asked him the normal questions, but then they after that also dropped the hint that, hey, Romany and Chelsea are carrying a lot of money.
Yeah.
And this is when Nathan's ears perked up and he's like, oh, wait, like how much? How come I didn't get some?
Yeah, exactly. Unknown but untrusted Nathan then spills that they left in a white SUV. He thinks that's just innocuous fact that, I didn't give them the plate, I didn't give them the name, they won't be able to do anything with that. But the hunters using CCTV are then able to track the last white SUV leaving the area and therefore get a direction of travel and a destination. And shortly thereafter, they're hot on the heels of Romanee
Yeah.
and Chelsea.
And I think we've seen in previous episodes, the hunters have been actually quite hot on the heels of Romany and Chelsea because they have used quite a lot of close contacts. They're
Yes.
kind of always one step behind, but still,
Yeah.
it's a very it's a very quick step. Quick step for them to figure out who it
I
is.
would have thought they would have gotten caught many times before, especially
Yeah.
when they were wandering around that town in
Torquay.
Torquay. That's right. Thank you. In the past episode, they looked like they were about to get caught when they were walking in and out of the nail salon, so on. But they're still around and they're still making the same kind of moves. But that contrasted with back again. I'm going back and forth between the two teams, Andy and Deb, who, when the hunters arrive at Linda's house, she also gives the information that they left in a black SUV. It's almost mirrored information,
Yes.
mirrored cars. She gives up that, yeah, they left in a black SUV, which is owned by her husband. But because, and the hunters are soon able to ascertain what car it is and whose car it is. But because Andy and Deb don't actually give Glenn any information as to where they're going. They just jump out of the car and then walk the rest of the way to their next destination. They're able to provide a buffer of separation, which doesn't implicate them in their next move.
Yeah. Well, actually, the car that Glenn was driving is actually not his car. So that's actually his neighbor's car. So that was the
Oh,
point
you're
of
right. Sorry,
separation
thank you for correcting me.
that they had actually created. Because if it was Glenn's car, they actually would have tracked it. So they're very smart. They got Glenn to help them, but they made sure it's not his car. So the hunters didn't know
Yeah.
whose car it was. And what happens is Glenn then dropped them off at a location. They were able to walk to a nearby church.
Yeah, and so what we're seeing between the two gameplays already on evacuation day, the difference between the two teams, the difference in the two gameplays, just how careful Andy is, and just he's covering every single little step and depth, but how Romney and Chelsea are just kind of leading a trail to them, it feels. So let's analyze Romney and Chelsea's gameplay and follow it through to its conclusion, and then we'll hop over to Andy and Deb because that just seems the natural way to go. Obviously, we're gonna have spoilers. We're assuming you've seen the show, so Romney and Chelsea.
Okay, so they were in the car, the white SUV with Paul. They had actually agreed to meet at a meeting point with one of his friends, Andrew, who's driving a red car. So what happens is they then swap cars. They go into Andrew's car,
Right.
and he takes them to his house, and that's where they put up for the night.
And that brings us to Paul. The hunters arrive at Paul's door the next morning as he's arriving home. And this has to be one of the great Stonewall acting awards I've ever seen. Acting
Yeah.
performances, sorry, I've ever seen.
I think if you were a fugitive on the run, you would definitely want Paul as your
You
ally.
do. I was so convinced. Like, I was literally like, did he help them? He doesn't look like he knows what's going on. I was so convinced by his performance. I was second guessing what I had just literally seen on the screen. This guy is brilliant. He would give, James Gandolfini a run for his money. He's so good at just playing innocent, like butter wouldn't melt.
Yeah.
He's brilliant.
And I think in this series, especially this season, we've come across quite a lot of actually very good allies that the fugitive have managed to enlist.
And some bad ones.
Yeah, and we've also stressed how important a good ally is. They
Yeah.
almost have to be like a vault, where like
Yeah.
information goes in but nothing comes out.
Nothing comes out. And we might actually, we'll have an award giving thing at the end of this episode where we discuss the best vaults and the worst, okay? All in fun, of course. But Paul, you're the man. You deserve a slow clap, 80s clap. You are brilliant. But he does, unfortunately, have some evidence on his phone.
Yeah, I think the inevitable was always going to happen.
Yeah, so on his phone, he's Googled how to get to Wyndham Hills. And then he says, oh, yeah, that's where my cousin lives. I go there all the time.
Because he's in a wheelchair.
But, why would you use GPS if you go there all the time, as the hunter very cleverly deduces? And that's what stitches him up.
Yeah, and I think, as you've seen, all it takes is one little slip up for the hunters to jump onto your mistake, and then they can pretty much figure out, okay, let's have a quick look at any CCTVs in Wyndham Hills. And very quickly, they discover that, oh, hey, the girls are swapping into the car with Andrew. They very quickly determine Andrew's address.
And his car, a red Mazda.
Yes, and within minutes, they are, there.
And this has to be one of the most thrilling captures I could have... I thought Joanna and Lee couldn't be topped. I thought Luke and Ben couldn't be topped. This was my favorite one. This played out like a thriller, like a horror movie. So just to paint the picture, we don't know where Romanee and Chelsea are in the house. We just know that they're in the house. And the hunters break through the door finally after being stalled a little bit. And they're just walking through the home, looking for them. They've got the back door covered. They've got the front door covered. And the hunters are just going through this beautiful home.
Yeah, looking through the bushes. It's a big house.
It's a big house.
There's grounds, there's a swimming pool.
It's a very beautiful...
There's a lot of spots that two girls could hide in.
Yeah, and they're searching every single inch. They're trying everything they can to lure them out. They're calling out, we've got you, but they haven't. And then we cut to Romanee and Chelsea hiding clearly underneath the house or in an attic or a basement, something like that, but in a little,
Very
crawl
cramped.
space.
Yeah,
a crawl space that you find underneath homes because that are elevated so that they don't, so they have some stability, right?
Yeah, and it's a very dark space. You cannot
dark...
see anything.
Yeah.
It's very cramped. So imagine Romanee and Chelsea, and then plus a cameraman
and a camera.
with a big bulky camera too, so that there is no space at all.
And they are just
terrified
and staying mouse quiet, trying to wait until this tide passes. I didn't even know you could do this, that you could just hide in a house and wait for the hunters to leave. I've sort of seen in the past them always get caught, or that when they're in the same space, it just gets given up.
Yeah, I think
this might have worked.
Like with Jade and Taylor, they got found very quickly. They were just hiding in a closet.
Yeah.
So that house probably didn't have the underground,
crawl space.
Yeah, crawl space that this one does.
But this is a massive modern mansion,
yeah.
basically. So at this point, then they're at a loss. The hunters, they can't find them, and then Ben, being the MVP hero detective that he is, calls out, would you mind checking out any crawl spaces or any spots under the house?
Yeah, so Ben has done this multiple times.
He's the man.
He knows what's going on. Because what would have happened if he had not said that? The hunters would have gone, because Andrew, the occupant, the owner of the house, he's actually said, well, you've actually just missed the ghost.
Which was brilliant.
Which is brilliant, because that could actually very easily have happened.
I was thinking, if he had only sort of said that beforehand when he was at the gate, said, you just missed him. You're welcome to check the house out. Yeah. If he had said that at the beginning, I think they wouldn't have been so, persistent in their search of the house. But hey, all's clear in retrospect, right? 2020 vision's always clear, but at the time, how we could have known. How else do you think Romney and Chelsea could have gotten out of this situation other than hiding where they did?
I
What's the other
don't
play?
think they can because, well, seeing the geography of the house, it seems like it's one of those houses that's right at the very corner
Yeah,
of a
true.
street. There's only like the house next door, so they could jump the fence. But to be honest, there was two ground hunters, one at the front, one at the
Yeah,
back. They would have been spotted very quickly. The only thing I could think of was that if they jumped the fence to the neighbor's house,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I still think that the hunters would have seen them.
There's not much you can do. Yeah, other than
No.
like, ramming them over in a car or, maybe getting the two people. Oh, what you could have done is maybe get the two residents to dress up in black and run out the house. And then you go the other way while, you've led a pursuit. But this is all fanciful
Yeah.
thinking.
Well, this happens in movies.
This happens in movies, but in reality, this is even better because what happens next is Kim, the poor lady, has to get on all fours and crawl through the crawl space in the dark looking for these two ladies, and she's literally crawling blind. And
Yeah, she cannot see anything.
we see an amazing shot in night vision where she is just stumbling around in the crawl space, feeling about in front of her. She can't see a foot in front of her,
Mm, mm, mm.
and we swing camera from Romney and Chelsea to her, and they cannot see each other.
Yeah, I think Romanee and Chelsea, they sense that someone is coming. They must
Yeah,
have seen. So this is like a little trap door that they opened. So I think when Kim probably opened the trap door to go in, there was probably some light coming in.
yeah, right.
So they could have seen her, but she would not have been able to see them because it's pitch black inside. They were just holding each other's hands, holding each other's mouths, like
Oh,
trying to catch their breath. So you can tell just how terrified they are.
this was like that horror film, Stay Quiet, or some one of those new horror films where
Emily Blunt.
the Emily Blunt film where she has to be quiet, otherwise a monster comes in. This is just amazing. This played out like a horror film. It
Mm.
looked like it was great, but all good things come to an end, and the monster caught the innocents, well, not so innocents, and Romney and Chelsea get captured. Ah,
Yeah, I know.
this must have been
That
heartbreaking.
must have been very heartbreaking because prior to their capture, they were just about to leave the house. They were
They
like, I
were,
think they were literally like 10 minutes away from
they
leaving the
were.
house.
This is
And so imagine to get caught when you're so close to the finale, to the final.
I love them. Like their story
Yeah.
was so nice. They were such supportive teammates. They never argue. We didn't see any arguing or bickering. They were so supportive.
Mm-mm-mm.
You could tell they were best friends for life. They were like, joined at the hip in a really
Mm-mm-mm.
supportive and cohesive and healthy, if might I say, way. They're just great girls. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they're very good. Yeah.
They
It was
weren't sniping at each other or bickering.
no,
Like
no. Not that sniping or anything is bad because I think this show can be
that's how some
stressful.
relationships
Yeah,
could be.
yeah, that's how some relationships are. But I
But
think they
yeah.
just seem like such good sports. Wherever they've stayed, they've always tried to do their best to help out with yard work.
Mm.
You can tell they're definitely hardworking. And to be honest, I think their gameplay has just been it has been good. Yeah.
Yeah, they would have
What do
been.
you like? What do you rate it?
Oh, they would have been worthy winners, to be honest. I give
Yeah.
them an A. I mean, I can't give them a perfect score, but they did get to the final day, so they did everything as well as they could have. They did almost everything right. The only thing that they did wrong, I think, as we expressed before, is that they did rely on some close contacts and they didn't scrub the trail behind them as carefully as they could have. I think, but they did as well as they probably knew they could. I think future teams and future players in this game will look at what Andy and Deb have done in terms of really being overly careful in the way they move and not dropping any type of evidence behind them. Getting dropped off away from the location, not letting the contacts meet each other as they're transitioning between locations, only staying a day at a time.
Mm, mm,
Things
mm.
like that, maybe Ronnie and Chelsea could have done better. But look, it's exhausting doing what they do. It's exhausting playing the way Andy and Deb play. Being paranoid and being that careful day after day, it would grind on you. It would be exhausting. So, A for me. What do you think?
It's a B plus for me,
Okay.
and I think very similar reasons to what you have as well. The same thing, like great goals, very good teamwork. Just the fact that sometimes maybe they're a little bit careless with using their direct contacts.
Yeah.
Other than that, superb, and I actually just really felt for them. And oh yes, and one other thing too, towards the end. So when they were talking to Reese, what did you think? Oh, he was like saying, "Okay, well, how would you guys feel about, like, if I
Oh,
offered you some
Reese.
money, would you would you give up the location of
He's
the
such a
extraction?"
little snitch lure. Like I joked, oh, take the money, get off of it. But honestly, these girls are such honest Australian girls. They were never gonna snitch on the
No,
other
no, they're
teammates.
absolute
They
legends.
live by a code.
Yeah,
And you can see it in everything they do.
yeah.
I'm not gonna say the teams I think would have taken the money, but Romy and Chelsea, if you understand, if you've been watching the show, if you know these girls, they're just honest, hardworking Australian
Mm,
girls that would never, go past that code of
mm.
of mateship and not snitching,
Yeah.
and not giving up a fellow uh, fugitive.
Yeah, similar to, like, I think Luke and Ben, like snitches
Yeah.
get stitches.
So they
I think they saw, like, the value of, they were so close, and
yeah,
they would
yeah.
have, like, felt like if they were on the other team, they didn't know who was going to make it to the end.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
they would have felt absolutely devastated if a team came so close but gave up the extraction point.
Exactly. That would have
That would just be
sucked.
devastating.
You'd never forgive yourself if you did it.
Yes.
Australian society would never forgive you.
Yes,
You
and
wouldn't be
don't
able to.
forget, you are on national TV
You're on
too.
national
You will not be
TV.
forgiven.
You wouldn't be trusted with a $10 note to borrow. Like nobody would ever trust you again. But you know what? I think they earned the respect of the hunters. Even when they showed that scene, the
Yes,
hunters
I
were
think
nodding in
so.
like, yeah, that's the way. That's
That's
the
it.
way.
I mean, Reese had to ask, I think,
He had to
but I think he
ask.
was probably hoping, okay, don't give me anything now.
Yeah.
We move on to Andy and Deb. So currently they are at the vicar's house, and this is a very interesting scene because they're going into a church. So the vicar is a friend of Andy's, and yes, you just see all these stained glass windows of sinners praying, murals of Christian gods.
This is very well. There's only one
Yeah,
Christian
there's only
god.
one god.
But yeah, saints. I think you mean. But
Saints.
this is poetic justice, if you will, because and it plays perfectly into the game that they've been playing all along of redemption. Like if you look at it like a movie story, which I tend to do, right? A couple robs a bank, but in order to redeem themselves, they do yard work for the community to get refuge. They do all these things, service to the community to earn back good karma. And then in the end, they seek refuge and asylum in the most holiest of places, a church, which is
Mm-hmm.
traditionally the place for sanctuary and asylum. One of the tenets of a church is to never refuse sanctuary for sinners and criminals. I don't
Mm-mm-mm.
know if people know that, but it's one of their tenets
Yeah,
to
it
never
is
turn away people that need help. So I just found this almost
poetic.
poetic. Yeah, almost Hollywood script. Like if you had a film about fugitives that did exactly what Andy and Deb did, and the last scene they end up at a church. I mean, that's a freaking John Woo film, man. This is beautiful, right? You just need
Yes,
a
it is.
shootout with John Travolta chasing them. John Travolta as Reese, but like I just found this a beautifully poetic end.
It
That
is. Yeah.
aside, it's very smart too.
Yeah, it is. Yes. So I think throughout this game, we've seen Andy and Deb. They have played a phenomenal game, and
Yeah.
it's something that even the hunters, acknowledge that they have probably been like the hardest criminals to catch in all of hunter
Yeah,
history in
as Ben
Australia.
said, I think Ben says like these are the hardest criminals he's ever had to go up against, and he's been doing, including Hunted UK. He's been doing this for over 10 years.
Yeah. So they have
So
done phenomenally well. They have left hardly any tracks, and as we've said before, like, so Glenn has dropped them off, but he doesn't know where they're going. So they're at this church, and the hunters have not yet determined their location because they are
oh,
just unable to.
I would have loved to have seen the hunters try and grill a vicar. Like that would have been Hollywood. That would have been clutch. Like to see a vicar say, stonewalling them and saying, God bless you, hunters. I'm
Mm,
not telling you anything.
mm.
And then facing this man of God and trying to drill him and accuse him of lying. I think that would have been clutch. Like, you know
That
what I
that
mean?
would have been a very, very funny scene, I
Yeah,
think.
right. Like you're not meant to give up any secrets that are given
Confession,
in
yeah, yeah, in
confession
confession,
as a
yeah.
priest. So that would have been amazing to see.
It would have been, yes. So we see now the vicar. He's actually handing them over to his father.
Yeah.
Yeah, who helps them actually in his car to his getaway point. So we find out that he actually has an apartment that is very near Gem Pier.
At
It is
Williamstown,
at
yeah.
Williamstown. It is so close that if you look through, I
A
think a
telescope.
telescope,
Yep.
you can actually see the exact pier.
I don't know how they coordinated this. If Andy had a clutch of possible friends he could have gone to, depending on
What location?
what location the extraction was.
Yes.
But this is just perfect. I don't know how he
Mm.
could have planned this any better other than getting an Airbnb right on the freaking pier and hiring a boat.
Yeah, and I think
Like,
this is
what are
one
the
thing
chances?
that, like, I would just, it would be great if for Hunter, to maybe do like a reunion show, like, for them
Yeah,
to
I'd love
like,
to
ask
know.
Ben, it's like, hey, did you actually think of like maybe okay, there's several locations in Melbourne for extraction, and have like several contacts who are ideally placed in these locations close enough
Yeah,
where you can kind of like scout the location the morning,
exactly.
but and then pick and choose which one you want to go on the actual, the day
I'd love
before
to know the
extraction.
thinking behind it, but as we see, he's meticulous, he's careful.
Mm.
Before he's even gotten to the house, I think he gets the vicar's father to drive him around the pier and the town, and they do timed stops,
Mm, mm, mm.
rehearsing every single step to the second. So they're like,
Mm.
okay, at 12 past, I run out of the car, open the door, da da da. He times how long it takes from the car to get to the apartment, how long it takes for them to stop, to get out of the car, to walk from the pier. It is all
Yeah,
coordinated to a T. This is
yeah,
so Andy. He
it
is a
is.
CIA
Yeah,
agent.
even like which car door they both exit out from. I mean,
Yeah.
like everything has been planned down to the minute, and this
That,
very much
yeah.
speaks to how they have a rule book of how to
Yes.
survive this
Yeah.
game,
Yeah.
where they don't stop at a house for more than 24 hours.
Yeah.
They always double check before they bunk down that there is an exit route, like whether
Yeah.
they can jump any fence. They are doing great.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's a great
It,
plan.
It's a great plan, great gameplay. This is definitely elevated everything about what it means to be a fugitive on this show. How
Mm,
meticulous you have to be to survive on the run.
mm, 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 mm.
And what happens then is that we see a bunch of hunters scattered around the coast
Mm.
looking for these guys, speculating on where they're going to end up. And I had a quick glance on Google Maps. There are over 42 piers along that harbour. And it's like a 2 hour drive from end to end. It's not close. It's not easy to access, and so the fact
No.
that the hunters are then able to deduce where it is pretty amazing.
I think maybe that was the only thing in that whole episode that I kind of found a little bit disbelieving.
Yeah, a little bit of a
Everything else, to be
stretch.
honest, has been very, very good, very
Yeah,
believable. There has been like evidence to show that they are able to locate where the fugitives are hiding based on
yeah.
information they've received. But this one, I think it's just, well, like Melbourne has quite a like
It's
long
very
coastline.
spread
Yeah,
out.
it's very
Yeah.
spread out, and to get from one point to another would have taken what, at least 30, 40
Who
minutes.
knows? Yeah, but not in the 5 minutes it
Yeah.
takes them, because what happens is Kim from a helicopter says, "I see a black boat. It's a tiny boat, by the way." And then within minutes, they all arrive. Three teams at least arrive at Williamstown, which is super fast. It's
Which is
as
super
I
fast.
agree. I found that a
Yeah.
little bit of a stretch without knowing the extraction point. I feel like, maybe the producers tipped them off a little bit and said it's somewhere between here and here, any, meeny, miny,
Mm,
mo.
mm, mm, mm.
But to just say it's anywhere in Melbourne, no freaking way, man, would they have been able to deduce that location and get there
Well,
that quickly.
yeah. Well, I mean, from the show, they have stated that the hunted HQ team were not given the location of the extraction.
Right?
But do you think that they might have gotten the address, while they were hunting fugitives?
Well, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Maybe because every team got the money bag and a card with
Mm.
the web address on it. Who's to say that they didn't go through that money bag, get the card out of the extraction, go up that website themselves and look it up?
Yeah.
Because they got to that point in mad fast time. In fact, they get there before Andy and Deb. And then what we have is one of the most amazing endings to a reality TV show, competition reality TV show, I think that we've ever seen.
Mm, mm,
Okay,
mm.
so we have the team arriving there, waiting on the pier. I think it's Team Charlie,
Mhm.
or at least the man from Team Charlie, waiting on the pier, and then we have this guy arrives like a getaway driver,
This nice
like
old elderly
Tony,
man,
father of
he
a vicar. He arrives like Tony and Kaylee, a rally car driver, hitting the brakes and skidding 10 meters. We get an amazing shot of the hunters walking towards the pier and the car arriving in the background,
Andy and Deb jumping out of it
jumping out of it,
and running behind them.
running behind them to the pier. This is nuts. And in my mind, I'm thinking they're jammed.
Done.
They're done.
Yeah. How could they get to the boat? Because they have to pass both ground hunters.
Yeah, I felt like this was a little bit unfair. Like, how are you meant to win this game if the hunters are already there blocking you off? But obviously, Andy, the lateral thinker, the Jason Bourne thinker, is able to bypass that. But not before Deb is tagged.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
And Andy, in a final retaliation, throws his jumper at one of the hunters, which I thought was cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then.
And so Andy, with very, very quick thinking, he very quickly jumps into the water as soon as Deb got captured.
Yeah.
And he swims, I guess, the next 30 or 50 meters out to the boat. Just in time.
And claws himself onto the boat. He struggles a little bit, but with 5 seconds remaining, he pulls himself onto the boat in true cinematic fashion. This, you couldn't script it better if you tried. Yeah. This was a freaking Jason Bourne film. This is literally the end of Jason Bourne Ultimatum. I'm expecting Moby to play at the end of this, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I think it was just an absolutely great ending because I was really hoping that one of them would make it. I was so sure that they were not going to make it.
Yeah.
And just to have him, quick thinking, jumps into the water and just swims out, gets there in the nick of time. I think that was just incredible.
I don't know if this was staged. It just feels so perfect that I feel like the producers were saying, jump in the water, go that way.
I think he would have, I think that's something that Andy would have thought of anyway.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
But, so we have a winner.
Yeah, we have a winner. Andy, yes. Unfortunately, they didn't get order money because Deb, I think, had half of it. Yeah, so probably what, $52,000?
$51,000, $51,500. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they get half because each team got 103 at the beginning.
Yeah.
I wish they'd gotten all of it because that would have been really life-changing money. $50,000, don't get me wrong, is nothing to sneeze at. But I wanted them to get it. They deserved to get it all. They were worthy winners. And we've seen in the past, maybe 2 winners go through and split that prize. In the end, only 1 team gets through, 1 winner. But I think it was a win for everyone. Even Reese says it himself. We all won today. I know it sounds like a bit of a sportsmanship award, but I think everyone did. We got a winner.
We got 3 great captures. Well, yeah.
Yeah. We got the hunters don't have anything to be ashamed of because they literally got every single team caught, and only 1 person got away, but they performed incredibly well. They were quick. Their problem solving, their resource management, their tactics, everything was top notch this year. So I don't think they have to feel ashamed about their performance in terms of losing to Andy this year.
Yeah, I think so. I think everyone did really well.
Yeah, like in past Hunted seasons, there were a few cringe moments for the Hunted team. I felt, where maybe they went through the front door and then the fugitives ran out the back door and maybe made them look a little bit slow and sloppy and a little bit less than professional. This year, the team came off like a bunch of assassins. Everything they did was so. Yeah, that's what I mean by they came off as winners this year. They did as well as could be expected, and they were literally. Andy needed to jump into the freaking harbor to win the show,
and he did.
But other than that, they would have gotten a clean sweep. But this way, everybody gets a happy ending. I guess everybody wins.
Congratulations, Andy.
Congratulations, Andy.
So now that the season's over, we're going to do a little bit of a fun awards thing just to recap over how exciting all the episodes are. So Michael's got some awards that he wants to give out.
Yeah, okay. So the first up award is the Clarice Starling Ethical Hacker Top Investigator Award. This goes to the best hunted investigator or ethical hacker, whatever you want to call it. The Clarice Starling from Silence of the Lambs. So who gets this award for you this year?
Well, that would definitely have to be Vicky.
Mm.
Yeah, she has been very, very spot on with a lot of her observations. She is smart. She's resourceful. She's
Yeah.
got red hair.
Yeah, she's got to be Clarice Starling. I mean, who else can play Clarice? Not Jay, but Jay has been clutch. He was my runner-up, but Vicky has been the one to give a lot of the information that's led to a lot of the captures. I don't know how much of it is distributed between the teams, but if you think about her deductions that led to Jade and Taylor's networks, she deduced that they were going to be somewhere by the beach. Joanna and Lee. A lot of the specifics escape me at the moment, but I just recall her always coming up with information at the right time, at the right place. Her ethical hacking, top notch.
Yeah.
And now we come to the Harrison Ford Tommy Lee Jones Best Escape Award. Who have you got?
I think Luke. He's been great. I mean, he's escaped the hunters twice.
That was my pick too.
Yeah, he's very, very quick.
I think Luke's escape on the in the farm was incredible. The way he evaded capture that time, and the second time he almost evaded capture. He held out as long as he could, running through the caravan park. 1.5 escapes, if you will. That's got to outdo almost everyone else on the show. And he had 1 escape, but Luke still wins on the scoreboard. So I'm giving it to Luke. Well done. You get the Harrison Ford Award.
Yay.
And now the Tom Cruise Award for Best Running on the show. Who have you got?
Oh, that's actually quite a close call. I would have to say, okay, between Luke again, but actually Joanna.
Freaking Luke.
Yeah, Joanna. I mean,
Joanna.
in that car chase sequence, she jumps out very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And the hunter was just like trailing after her. And don't forget, like, she's small too. She's petite, so the distance she has to cover with those legs compared to someone who's a lot taller.
Hey, she's got the explosive physique. I gotta give it to Joanna too. The way I want to give it to Luke, but Luke's gonna clean up all the awards if we go this way. So
Yeah.
Joanna, she gets it. The Tom Cruise Running Award.
Yeah, plus she's like super fit too.
Yeah. Now the Volt Award for the Best Friend Ally. Who kept secrets best? Who was the best at stonewalling the hunters, at not spilling the beans? Who is not a snitch? So, who have you got?
Oh, I think a few possibilities came to mind. So,
Contenders, yeah.
I always draw my mind back to Kim,
Yeah.
who was one of the customers for Undine and Shelley. So, Undine and Shelley were staying at Kim's house, but they had left. And when the ground hunters came to Kim, they were like, "Oh yeah, I know several Shelleys."
Yeah.
Like she was kind of like telling the truth, but not like really giving them everything.
Yes.
She was really good.
She was good.
Mm.
And then
What
you
about
have
you?
you have Paul, who also was brilliant in his acting. Unfortunately, his phone gave him up, but he was as convincing as can be. Like, I think the way they just sort of acted innocent, but still gave a little bit of misinformation. My award goes to Paul.
Oh, wait, hold on. And yeah, don't forget about Evans. I think in previous episode,
Evans.
he actually helped
Andy and Deb.
Yeah, so
Call my lawyer.
Yeah. I know they used his phone to post on Gumtree about a jacket, which then linked to Ben Owen's number. But when
Yes.
Ben interrogated him, he was like, "Well, I guess I need a lawyer right now."
Yeah, he was brilliant.
Okay.
Best comeback ever.
Yes.
So we're gonna split that award between the three of them.
Mm.
So Paul, Kim, Evan, you get the Vault Award. Now, the Loose Lips Award. This is never a great one to give out. Who was the witness, the friend, the ally that just gave up all the cookies? I think there's only one this year, and that's Milan.
Oh, Milan.
We adore you, Milan.
Yes.
But you're the runaway winner. So
Yeah,
look at it like
yeah,
that. You're
yeah.
the champion of champions.
Yeah.
When it comes to snitches, you're the best.
Yeah.
But you're the sweetest snitch ever.
Yeah.
We hold no animosity
Yeah,
towards
please
you.
don't. Yeah, this is no hard
So,
feelings. Yeah, we just
like-
think that you were just so good at it that you actually made snitching look very good.
You made snitching look good. I thought you were going to draw them a map and take them to a catch and Joe. You were so sweet and smiling through it all. Like, the judge is not going to press any charges. Do not
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah, all
As
good.
innocent as can be and as sweet as can be. That runaway winner. There is no contender. And so that's it.
Wow, what a wrap up.
What a season.
Yeah,
we really
it's-
enjoyed it.
It's
Kudos.
been great. Hunter, this has been a great season with an even greater finale. We didn't think you could top all the other finales, all the other episodes, but you did.
kudos to the production team. Well done, Channel 10. Looking forward to the next season. Wish it would come along a little bit sooner.
I
but
know.
Really well made, I think. I think everyone that's associated with the show should be really proud of themselves. We've enjoyed watching it. We've really enjoyed talking about it. Hope you guys have enjoyed listening to us.
Yeah, so this is the Recreate podcast by Michael and Teresa, and you can find us on Recreate on TikTok and Instagram. That's WRECK.CREATE, where you can watch highlight videos of what we've talked about. If you like what you hear, be sure to like and subscribe to our pod. It really helps us a big deal, and we're extremely grateful for any support you give. So, till the next thing, stay tuned.
See ya.